NBA, it's so close now, you can smell it. Less than 48 hours until NBA SuperCoach tips off. First live tonight. We're going to be covering tons of stuff, including our must-have players, a couple of pods for you to think about. We're going to be talking about the schedule, injuries, the replacement players, and tons more, including captaincy. Let's get started. Yes, hello, welcome to the very first NBA SuperCoach weekly preview. You're watching the Ball Logic NBA SuperCoach podcast. I'm Braino. We've got Mattrix and Horse in the studio. It's the full, well, you got 3/5 of a starting five here. We've got plenty to talk through. Mattrix, how are you, mate? How's the lead up been for you?
Oh, good. I'm just excited. Like, it's not preseason, it's not summer league. It's going to be real basketball.
And we've been waiting a long time, obviously. We've been talking hypotheticals, Horse, for a fair while now. Probably, I think it's been closer to 11 weeks now. We've been doing preseason, nearly 80 episodes. Right. Of course, in the fantasy basketball world, as well as NBA SuperCoach. But yeah, we've got plenty to talk about tonight, don't we?
Oh, there's heaps going on, including how the Charlotte Hornets are going to look like more of an NBA basketball team than the Memphis Grizzlies to start the season.
That's questionable.
Let's not take it too far. Yeah.
You've already got a rise out of him, and we're 1 minute 36 in, so that's well
right.
done from you. Yep, that's why we're here. But guys, we've got plenty to come on the show tonight. We're going to give you a guide on the players that we think are must-haves. We're going to give you a guide on some pods and some guys that hopefully give you a bit of a differential. We're also going to be covering the schedule so that you understand who's on the 2 game weeks to start the season. We're going to talk injuries as well and the beneficiaries of those injuries. We've got plenty of hot topics to cover, and of course, we'll talk captaincy as well. We do have a league code. It is 817149. For those of you in the chat, want to jump in the league code, you win yourself a standard squeeze prize pack if you do take out the top score every single week. That is, 23 weeks of NBA SuperCoach. So 23 combo packs or 4-in-1s to give away thanks to the standard squeeze for supporting the show. 817149 is that code. Luke in the chat, thanks for joining us, mate. Guys, let us know if you do have some questions. We'll pick some of the best ones. And of course, if you do want a lot more from us, we're going to be revealing our teams together tomorrow night, exclusive to all of our Patreon subscribers there. That'll be live tomorrow night around 8:30 Sydney time. So if you want to see our teams and you also want to get all of your questions answered, the link's in the description below there. Just give it a click. It's less than $10 a month to get all of your NBA SuperCoach content. Boys, where do you reckon we start? I reckon we start with injuries.
Get stuck in.
Now, there are some injuries to talk about. Of course, there's nearly 33 of them specifically that won't be suiting up. Obviously, some relevant to SuperCoach, some not. We'll pop it up on the screen here. Maddie, do you want to take us through the first lot of guys we should be talking about?
Yeah, so the Memphis Grizzlies in general are the most injured team in the comp. It's basically their whole roster. That's what Horse was referring to earlier. But yeah, look, Tyler Hero's out to start the season. Looking at some bumps there for a couple of Miami players. LeBron James out for 3 to 4 weeks, and we've got again some of these Memphis guys starting to pop in. Scottie Pippen Jr. And we've got Zach Collins as well out for 4 weeks. Jaden Ivey 4 to 6. Sabonis for an extensive period, and Whisperer's favorite Jalen Green.
Yeah, I took Jalen Green in a draft the other day for some reason. I don't know why, but I thought I'd change it up a little bit, chuck him in IR. You can't do that in SuperCoach, that's for sure. You cannot throw your players in the injured reserve slot. So you're avoiding all of these guys. But of course, there's some beneficiaries, Horse. That's not the end of the list, though, mate. There's still a few more, isn't there?
Oh, there's lots going on. So you mentioned Sabonis. He may be a week 1 withdrawal. You'll have to just wait and see and keep an eye on team sheet, so to speak, for what's going on there. He's got a bit of a niggly hammy.
Bilal Coulibaly. We can't get Drew Eubanks?
Oh, maybe. That'd be a really tough stream if you had to go the Drew Eubanks. You're probably punting wins if you're bringing him into your side, but you've got Bilal Coulibaly from Washington. He's out until November. Darius Garland's out to November as well. De'Aaron Fox as well. The Sohan from the Spurs. Zach Edey, your man, Mattrix from the Memphis Grizzlies. Kevon Looney, he's out for 2 to 3 weeks. So we're potentially looking at an Evis Missy type stream there. Jared McCain from the 76ers. Your man, Scoot Henderson too, Braino. He's got a bit of a hamstring issue, and he's not going to be available for the first 2 or 3 weeks as well. But then there's so many more. TJ McConnell, Nikola Topic, Brandon Clark, Zach Collins. The list just goes on. There is what we say, with injury comes opportunity. And we'll go through within our Patreon who we think is the main beneficiaries as to who's going to, I guess, get the bump or get the start or get the preferred minutes over these injured guys. And
Matty, it was, Tyler Hero's probably the main one that provides the opportunity to Norm Powell. We were pretty high on Norm Powell to start the year, and I don't know whether Mattrix is really happy with Norm Powell or just lagging.
He's on there.
Yeah, he's giving you the side eye, I reckon, more than anything. We'll see if he sticks around or whether he drops out. But yeah, Norm Powell's the one that's interesting for me, is that mid-priced option around that 11 mil, purely because obviously Davion Mitchell's not a high usage guard, is he, in Miami?
No,
Matty, I think he's back alive again, so we can get him back in here. Yeah, he's not a high usage guard, so I don't think we have to worry about Davion Mitchell stealing the show, but it could provide some opportunity for Norm Powell.
Norm Powell, yeah, and maybe Nikola Jovic as well. If he plays that point forward position, he's been known to get assists, rebounds, points, can shoot the three. Percentages aren't great, but he may get a good bump early on.
Who's the Mattrix now? We've got you back alive, and you're obviously not. It wasn't the fact that you were really excited about Norm Powell. It was just your internet not cooperating. Who's the biggest injury beneficiary for you? Who's the one that jumps out at you?
Maybe Ty Jerome if Ja Morant, and we know that Scottie Pippen's out. There's been a lot of question marks about whether he'll be back in time, but I think Ty Jerome just early looks like he will get an extended run, and even if Ja is back, probably kind of starts at the 2, and Jalen Wells probably out of all those guys out. Guys that I'm really looking at for SuperCoach, and not because I wanted them at the start of the year, probably more because just these injuries have popped up. They've shot up the depth chart, and and these guys are guys that have proved that they can be good when everybody's injured.
Yeah, I'm a big Ty Jerome guy. I think he could do a good job there. Obviously, yeah, it's up in the air as to whether Jar's going to be starting the season or not. I think, what did he say? He replied to a tweet or something, someone saying he was out with cap or something, is what the young kids say, isn't it, when you're lying? So, maybe Jar backs himself into to start the season, which makes the appeal much less. But, we're talking fringe guys anyway. That's not why people are here. They want to know who the players are they should be starting in their teams. And more importantly, we probably should talk the schedule first, because I think, it does determine which direction we want to go with a lot of our teams. And we've been tinkering a lot, Horse, over the last, few weeks since NBA SuperCoach opened. And now that we've probably locked down on the schedule and what that all looks like, what stands out to you? We've got 6 teams on the 2 gamers that you just can't go with to start, can you?
No, you can't. So we're looking at the Chicago Bulls, your Josh Giddey's and your Mattis Bazelis, risky plays if you wanted to try and play them. But Philly, Maxey, Vijay Edgecombe you can probably have on your bench if you wanted to. Joel Embiid, I'm not touching with Matrix's poll. Jazz, they're littered with, I'm not sure who to pick from there. You might get a nice Bryce Sensabaugh, nice cheap sort of pick there. The Denver Nuggets, whether we wait for Jokic or not, for me, I'm going to wait. He won't be in my starting side. Not giving too much away, though. The Pelicans, they've got a 2-game week, but interestingly, the next 5 weeks after that, I believe they've got the best scheduled in the NBA. So maybe we do start to target those sorts of players in week 2. And the Houston Rockets, who have got some very fantasy-relevant players there. You've got Şengün, you've got Amen Thompson, you've got Kevin Durant, Reed Sheppard even as a cheapie. There's a lot to like about the Houston Rockets, but not much to like about their schedule early on, having perhaps the worst schedule out of all NBA teams.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? Because you've got a lot of guys like Amen Thompson, I'm sure would be very popular, Mattrix, if the Houston Rockets schedule wasn't just completely horrendous. It probably writes off a lot of them as starting options, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not touching them. Just Amen Thompson would be a guy that I would look at. But yeah, look, I'm just going to attack the schedule early, and yeah, there is going to be targets. So I've basically looked at these teams and put a line through them. Unless they're on the bench, I'm definitely fine with you having these guys on the bench. But just remember, you're going to get 33% less points this week from those guys than you are of the guys in 3-game weeks.
Also, just and something that probably people maybe aren't aware of, or maybe should be aware of, is the fact that the way pricing has worked and the way that price changes work. There's been a lot of question marks and confusion around how, when players' pricing changes, and you're going to notice. And the one thing that's really kind of come out today has been that if a player is on a 2-game week, it is still a 3-game rolling average. It's not a weekly rolling average or 3-round rolling average. It is a 3-game rolling average, which means that the players that you've just mentioned, Horse, on those 2-game weeks, none of them are going to change in price either, which gives us a lot of benefit. If we look at Mattis Bazelis, right? Anybody looking to use Mattis Bazelis as a potential downgrade in week 2, they're going to get him still at that $6.7 million price, I think it is. So we're not just going to we're not going to go and chase cash knowing that we let him go in week 1. Same thing with Jokic, really, isn't it? Which is a bit of a downer, because I'm hoping Jokic loses money if we're not starting with him. But that now obviously means that he's not going to change in price until week 2.
No, that's right. And very similar to the likes of, anyone from Utah. They've got the 4-game week after their 2-game week to start with. Philadelphia are the same. Pelicans, your Zion Williamsons, your Trey Murphys, if you wanted to go a bit pottish, the same there. So there's a lot to like about getting a free swing, I guess, or a free look at these players before they go up in price. But on the flip side, Jokic, we get a look at a couple of games, but yet we don't get the price decrease we may have hoped for.
Yeah, and I guess, we haven't really even talked about point scoring yet from those 2 gamers. Matty, I'd love your thoughts on whether you think that there's any 2-game players at the moment you'd be happy to play on field in week 1, or are you just maybe loading up on the 3 gamers and then focusing on bringing in these guys later and avoiding the 2s?
Yeah, I am avoiding them. I've flipped and flopped between Mattis Bazelis starting and not. Basically a bazillion times so far, but I think just to be safe, he's going to start on my bench. Now that we're getting to the crux of it, I think I've just got to start him off the bench.
That's a lie. You can't count to a bazillion.
He wanted something that rhymed with Bazelis, and it just didn't work. That was the issue.
I didn't actually, but sure.
Okay. I probably outdid you a little bit there. But yeah, look, and I guess this is a relevant conversation to have. We're going to talk about our favourite cheapies for the bench, and I'm sure Bazelis is going to be a guy that comes up. Honestly, he's near a must-have at some point. It's just a matter of whether you decide to start with him or whether you get him in week 2 as a downgrade option. I'm leaning towards the latter. I'm actually not even 100% locked in on my team just yet. We'll have to find out tomorrow night whether I go that way. But yeah, it's something to think about. The 2-game weeks definitely to start are going to throw a few people off, because when I made my first team without looking at the schedule, it had a fair few 2-game guys in it. So yeah, I'd say it's going to catch a few people out maybe that haven't consumed too much content. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we go. But yeah, there's plenty of 3-gamers going on. There's only 6 teams on a 2-game week, which means there's 24 teams on a 3-game week to start things off. Obviously, the shortened week as well, Horse. There's a couple of back-to-backs. We talk in fantasy world about back-to-backs being a positive, because you're streaming players in and out off the back of, with 2 games in a row in 2 days. But I don't know about you, but I find it quite maybe a negative potentially in SuperCoach land, only because of that extended rest and load management risk on back-to-backs for certain players.
Oh, for sure. When you're talking older players and the NBA starting to turn towards resting players on back-to-backs, it's sort of tough when we're picking players on their scheduled rather than who they're playing against and what have you. So, not that you're going to pick him, but Al Horford, for example, we know just straight off the bat that he's not playing back-to-backs. So if Golden State have got 4 games in that week, but they're playing Monday, Tuesday, and then Friday, Saturday, you know that he's only playing 2 out of the 4 games because he's not playing those back-to-backs. So we've got to be pretty careful with who we go after there as well.
Is that the same for Joel Embiid, Mattrix? Like, we've had a ton of questions around, do I start with Joel Embiid as a 1-week play and then downgrade him so I can get Jokic? But there's every chance that, I mean, Philly are already on a 2-game week to start, so I don't know whether the rest risk is huge. But on a 3-game week, that can turn into a 2-game week pretty quickly with Embiid.
Yeah, I do think so. I just need to see, like, okay, he's passed the first test, and they've said that he's playing and he's healthy. I just have to see a little bit more. I just need to see him maybe play a back-to-back or two to start. I'm not super worried about back-to-backs to start the year unless they come in already injured. Like, I expect Kawhi to play back-to-backs and things like that. It is just, Embiid and your Paul Georges, if you're from the same team, they have had injuries in the preseason. They're the guys I'm more worried about rather than the older guys. And look, Al Horford, you shouldn't really be looking at him anyway. But I think Steph Curry, despite at his age and everybody like that, I think they will play to start the year. And then if they're looking like they're in a decent position, we'll start to get inklings that they're not playing back-to-backs, and we'll go through it all on the show. So. For sure.
Yeah, and that'll be something that we'll cover, obviously, each week when we do the preview. Which teams are at risk of resting their guys on back-to-backs based on where they're at in the year and injuries and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Matty's right. You don't have to worry about that too much to start the year. And, of course, once your players start and play their first game, they're locked out for the week. So it's not like you can start to manipulate trades midweek based on that movement anyway. So not overly relevant, more so in fantasy basketball land where you've got waiver wire pickups and shit like that. So we won't have to touch on that in this show each week, thankfully. Boys, I think that is the schedule covered. And if anybody wants a little bit more of a deeper dive on what the schedule looks like over the first 8 weeks, our subscribers got an exclusive video from myself and Flanders talking through what that looked like and the players and teams we wanted to target in that first 8-week period. So you can go and check that out. Subscribers get that full access to that. The link's in the description below. Boys, we've got some hot topics to cover, and this is now getting into the meat and potatoes of things, isn't it? So the first hot topic being our ideal top 5 bench guys to start the season. Matty, I'll start with you, mate. You said you might have Bezelis, who's at 6.67 million. That is what I would consider to be an expensive bench option. Does that mean that you've had to go much cheaper, like sub 4.5 mil elsewhere, or how's things looking for you on the bench at the moment?
Yeah, well, I've had to go get somebody like Jalen Williams, which I think is a real no-brainer. It seems like SuperCoach fucked up his scoring a bit. Should be priced at around about that mid-7s. And you can get him at 3.5 mil. He's a no-brainer, and it does facilitate somebody like a Bezelis or a Isaiah Jackson, or just maybe a premium bench player, but a bench player nonetheless. So.
Horse, what are your thoughts there? Obviously, Jalen Williams very popular at the moment for good reason. There's a very clear reason as to why he's so popular. I'm just trying to find it. 39% owned at the moment. He's the 5th most owned player in the whole game. So yeah, bit of a whoopsie from SuperCoach, and a thank you for the free $4 million they're giving us to start.
That's basically it. You're basically you've got your team value. You're adding $4 million to it before you even start the season. So it's the no-brainer approach.
Yeah. How's I guess let's tick him off as the first guy that he'd be in our top 5 on the bench. Where are you going next, Horse? Who do you think is an essential player on the bench?
I've got a bit of a spicy one for later in this sort of particular section of this episode, mate. But I'm going with Igor Demin, your man. Haven't really seen much of him in the preseason, but after yourself and Matty spoke a bit about him, I went back and watched some highlights of him and some game of him. And when you're 6'9", playing the point guard, it reminds me a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of Michael Carter-Williams from a few years back. The big point guard, Philadelphia 76ers, they were shit. Brooklyn Nets are going to be shit. They're going to give him plenty of opportunity to handle the ball, to grow into his game. They're not looking to win, so they won't care if he fucks it up every now and then. But this man, 6'9", he's going to do bits and pieces of everything, can shoot the 3-ball all right as well. And they just waived Kobe Buffkin, who, in my opinion, was probably a big threat to his minutes there at the point guard spot. Wheels up.
Like it. He was in my team. He's not currently, but I can get around it. There's another couple of guys I'd prefer. Number one being Reed Shepherd. And, obviously there's a little bit of a negative there that he only plays 2 games, so he won't have a price rise until week 2. But I'm that high on him. And also, instead of going at a rookie at a price of 4.7 to 4.95 million, which is where they're priced at roughly, he's 4 million on the dot. And this guy's a second-year player as well. Like, I just feel like there's much more of a breakout opportunity for a guy that's playing his second year in the NBA rather than his first. Obviously, there's a couple of other fantastic rookie options we'll talk about very soon. But, yeah, Reed Shepherd, honestly, I just, yes, he did everything that he did in the preseason game without their main lineup and all that kind of stuff. But still, like, just the fact that he's capable of doing what he did was at 27 points and 3 steals. And the kid's like 6'3" and can get blocks like a forward. Incredibly good stocks, and there's obviously a heavier weight when it comes to SuperCoach scoring on stocks, steals and blocks, that is. He's got a really well-rounded game, and I genuinely see him fitting into that starting 5, Matty. I'd love your thoughts on Reed Shepherd before you talk about yours, because that tall lineup for me in Houston with the men at the point, KD playing a shooting guard type role, I don't love it just due to the lack of shooting. I feel like Reed Shepherd gives them that more well-rounded lineup in Houston.
Yeah, and whether he plays like a traditional point guard or not, when he's out on the floor, I think they will need him to be out on the floor. Look, you look back at his 12 minutes per game last year, and it's not super exciting. But I do think the team looks better. He basically had to tick the box of have a good preseason. He had a breakout game and a decent preseason. Fred VanVleet's out. They're at least going to start the year this way, and I really only see that big lineup to be the starting lineup or the most prominent lineup if Reed fucks up. So, Look, to start the year, that's at bottom, well, very close to bottom dollar. He is the kind of guy that you do want, and it does save like 800,000 from an Edgecombe or a Dylan Harper. I like Zeman as well. I think that those are probably that and VJ Edgecombe are probably I'm going to have 2 of those 3. And it's more if I have the luxury of the extra $300,000 to go to VJ Edgecombe from a Zeman, just because I think that he's starting in a better team in Philly. Whether you think Philly's a better team or not, they're still better than the G League Nets. And look, he just impressed me in the preseason as well. I really don't think you can go wrong with any of these guards, all point guard, shooting guard eligible. But I do think all 3, including Edgecombe, are better than Dylan Harper, which is higher owned than these 3. That's just my 2 cents. Like, Dylan Harper probably will have the better career than all 3 of these guys. But look, right now, I'm not about him.
And, I guess the appeal, people are probably looking at the Spurs and going, well, De'Aaron Fox is out to miss the start of the season. So Harper maybe has a clearer pathway to some minutes there, at least initially. Stephon Castle's also another guy that probably pops his hand up as a beneficiary of that injury. But let's face it, this is Point Wemby's team, isn't it? Like, I think that's probably the way that they're going to go, and just let him bring the ball up, let him do his thing. He did some freakish stuff in the preseason. Like, Wemby aside, we'll talk about must-haves later. Maybe he'll feature in that conversation at one point or another. But, yeah, you'd be silly not to just get the ball in his hands every possession and just let him cook. So, all 3 really good options, Shepherd, Edgecombe and Zeman. So, definitely some good shouts there, along with Jalen Williams, who I think is a really good bloke to stash at centre or at power forward, considering he has that duel. Let's move into the forwards, Horse. Any small forwards standing out to you? There's a very obvious option that's 55% owned if you want to talk about him, or you want to get spicy.
No, I want to get spicy. And this is probably almost as spicy as I'm going to get. Terrence Shannon Jr. from the Timberwolves. So he's not likely to be in the top 6 or 7 at the Timberwolves, but when you're talking about stats per minute, he's a scorer, he gets rebounds, he gets assists, he's very energetic, he's all over the court when he's on the court. He might only get 18 to 20 minutes a night, but I really like his output at $4 million.
What's his what do you reckon his minutes look like to start? Honestly, I'm not going to lie, we talk every day. and you have not, and I have never heard his name or never looked him up at all. You've kept this from me. You've hidden it from me, and I'm filthy at you. Talk to me. What do his minutes look like in Minnesota?
To be honest, it's probably going to be between 16 and 20 a night. But at the back end of last year, he started doing some good things off the bench. Can score, can rebound the ball. I really like his game, and at $4 million, especially to start the year, Michael Conley's not going to play a lot of minutes. They're going to have DiVincenzo off the bench, but then behind that, they don't really have a lot. So I'm looking for him to really come on this year.
I mean, you said you were going to get spicy. You've definitely done that. Well played. Ace Bailey is the obvious option, Mattrix. For me, 55% owned. Are you concerned about the knee tendonitis in both knees at the moment? That's the latest injury report we've had on him. No word yet that he's going to miss the start of the season, though. So are you starting or looking at starting with him?
Yeah, well, the thing is he doesn't have it in his third knee. So, so I'm looking to look at the bright side when it comes to Ace Bailey. Look, he's running out of knees to get tendonitis in, but really I can't... Like, I was talking to Horse's brother today about Terrence Shannon, actually, but...
Oh, that's a lie.
I still think I 100% was on the blower, but you ask him about it too, 100%. But it was coming from him, not me. Ace Bailey is probably the safer option. 2-game week to start off. Probably can move him on if it doesn't work out. But look, Bezelis, of course, at a premium option, but you might not have a premium bench option. But you might not have that luxury. And yeah, Ace Bailey is probably the standout in there for me.
He's got a really NBA ready game too. He'll shoot shots, he'll have negatives, he'll miss a lot of shots, but he'll get you boards, he'll get you stocks. He's shown us what he's capable of in the preseason already. I'm a really big fan of Ace Bailey's game. Obviously, there was a lot of hype about him coming into the league as well. A lot of controversy coming into the league about the fact he didn't want to go to Utah. So it's one of those things where you look at it and you go, all right, this kid's going to prove some people wrong. So if he can stay fit and those knees don't bother him too much, I'm a big fan of his game. I think he's, we'll talk must-haves, but nearly borderline a must-have based on upside. Based on upside alone, he's nearly a must-have. I guess we can have a chat about one more guy. There's a lot of rookies. We talked about Dylan Harper and gave our thoughts on him. Conker-Nipple, probably won't talk about him just for the sake of this episode to keep things moving. But here's a bit of a smoky for you. And shout out Jade Herrick on Twitter, who kind of opened my eyes to this one. It's Jalen Tyson at Cleveland. He's $4 million, shooting guard and small forward eligible, so he can switch up to shooting. I like that, Jewel. There's a lot of power forward, small forwards, and a lot of point guard, shooting guards, but there are not a ton of shooting guard, small forward jewels. So, that opens the team up a little bit for you, flexibility-wise. But based on what we've seen in the preseason, Horse, I don't know what your thoughts are on him, but it looks like he might even get the spot start until Darius Garland's back in anywhere between, 2 to 4 weeks. I think he could make a little bit of cash in that short period of time to move him on to then someone who makes more for you.
For sure. He's a thick boy. Like, he loves to play defense too, and he can shoot the rock as well. So when I didn't know about it until you told me that you'd been told by Jade about Jalen Tyson, so I went and had a bit of a look, and yeah, I really like his game. And $4 million? Almost bottom dollar. Yeah, especially if he's going to start, it's worth it. They throw at the board. It's more than like no one knows what's going to happen with Lonzo Ball. And we were all super high on Lonzo Mattrix to start the season, thinking, here's a lock. We're going to have a playable point guard, $7 million that's going to open things up. And then he came off the bench and did sweet FA for 2 or 3 games, and then showed us a little bit of a glimpse of what he's capable of in 20 minutes in that final game, just enough to make us question all of our choices on our team. How do you think that's all going to work out? Do you think Lonzo plays 15 to 20 off the bench, Tyson starts, or are we wrong on this one?
I think Donovan Mitchell starts at point guard just to ruin all the plans. And then, but I do think that Tyson and Lonzo share the minutes. The worst thing is Lonzo has been such a cock tease. I was so off him, and then he's gone and done this with his last game. I think Jalen Tyson is a good shout, but only if that $800,000 really gets you a huge upgrade somewhere else. I still think that Ace Bailey is a better pick than Tyson, but I do think that if it's the difference between, and I'm finding quite a lot of difference between like a 13 or a 14 mil player and a 15 mil player. If it gets you to the elite player that you want, I think it's worth going to a Jalen Tyson. But yeah, I do think it's in a backup role where he will make money. But yeah, maybe there's only a couple mil in it, I think, because I think there's still growth for Lonzo at 7 mil. I think that he can be a 9 or 10 mil player. I think there's growth in Tyson as well. But yeah, the real answer is Donovan Mitchell will probably start at point guard.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's more a matter of who fills that vacant role. DeAndre Hunter should be the small forward. Mobley, Allen are going to be the 4 and 5. So it's more a matter of who fits that guard role while Garland is out. And I actually think it is Tyson. It seems like they like Lonzo playing, like working with the second unit and playing off the bench. Also think that there's every chance that maybe they limit his minutes at the start of the season, Lonzo, anyway, just due to the fact they want him healthy come playoffs. They're obviously going to be a playoff team. They're going to contend pretty deep this year.
Kenny Atkinson's come out and said that he won't play any more than 20 minutes a night as well.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I like Tyson as a bit of a spot start, nice and early, make a little bit of quick cash and then move him on. Yeah, not a guy I want to play, but definitely a guy that will facilitate the rest of my team. I currently have 377,000 in the bank, so that the difference there between a normal kind of rookie price or even a Yemen to a Tyson gets me the player that I wanted for my ideal lineup. So, yeah, that's probably where I'm leaning at the moment, going with those cheaper guys like Jalen Williams is great for that. Reed Shepherd, Jalen Tyson, 4 mil or less. So I do like going quite cheap there. With a minute's upside. Now, guys, that's probably the best 5 bench or 6 bench options there that you can trigger and move between based in all the positions in SuperCoach as well. So we've given you guards, forwards, and a centre power forward. So let's have a chat about must-haves. I'm interested to hear, and Horse, we're on the same page. I know what yours is. I think everyone should be on the same page with this must-have. Kick us off, mate.
Oh, there's plenty, isn't there? For me, I think Giannis, I think Wemby to start the year, they've both got to be must-haves. When you talk about the games that these guys play, they're very SuperCoach friendly, but I'm not going to go that way, mate. I'm going with Derek White from the Boston Celtics. So 12.6 mil, point guard, shooting guard. We've seen throughout the preseason, he's been the standout at the Boston Celtics. He's been a good player in the past when we're talking threes, when we're talking defensive numbers. We know that steals are worth 2 and blocks are worth 2. But now it's almost like he's the man alongside Jaylen Brown now, but better percentages. He does, for me, he's a lot more efficient than what Jaylen Brown is. They'll have Pritchard as well, and they'll have Simons coming off the bench. But this team, for me, is Derek White, and by the end of the season, he will be the number 1 fantasy ranked player on the Boston Celtics when we're talking SuperCoach basketball this year.
I completely agree. I'm sure Matty will I'll speak on behalf of him and say that we're all big fans. Derek White is going to have a big year this year for sure. And it's the stocks for me. The guy, he can get out of position blocks. He's great on the defensive end. He doesn't take too many bad shots. He doesn't get too many turnovers. His usage will go up this year, obviously, with no Tatum. Jaylen Brown, everybody's banking on to have this big breakout of a year. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Jaylen Brown's going to be shit. He'll be fine. But I just think that the person that makes them more cash will be Derek White. I'm completely in agreement with that. The sports guy in the chat said Brown's ruled as questionable for game 1. I think it was a hammy, wasn't it?
Hammy, yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, just puts another question mark around the Jaylen Brown pick. And if you're picking between colours, between brown and white, it's white all the way for us, I think. Now, let's move on to mine. I'll leave Matty for last. Now, I thought that'd get a reaction. That's good. Luka Doncic. He is now with LeBron out, a must-have. Would I have called him a must-have before LeBron was out? No, probably not. Because obviously LeBron has such a high usage on this team. Whilst Luka's still a fantastic option, I wasn't 100% sold, and I could have been sold on maybe someone like a Cade to free up a bit of cash. Now that LeBron's out, this is Luka's team already, but Luka is just going to have a 35% usage. He's going to be the guy that does absolutely everything on this team now without LeBron on the court. Austin Reeves obviously will get a bump for LA, but yeah, Luka is going to go ballistic to start the year. He is a guy that can put up Jokic type numbers. He's a triple-double guy. Yes, his efficiency kind of sucks, but he makes up for that in the stats that he gets that other guards don't. And that's those rebounds. He's a great steals guy, 1.9 steals per game last year. He had 3 steals per game in the Eurobasket a couple of months ago. He looks fit. He looks healthy. If you can't tell, I'm a big Luka Doncic fan, but I believe he is a must-have. It obviously comes down to, and I'd love your thoughts, Mattrix, on this, because you're not someone who wants to spend up at point guard or guard at all. Have you gone with Luka since LeBron's been out?
No, I actually haven't. Sticking to the plan a little bit, attacking the schedule maybe a little bit differently. Just picking somebody that is about 4 or 5 mil cheaper, and yeah, I'm just fine with letting him go through to the keeper to start off, and then just getting him if I need to. So
he's at that price point where I think there's a bit of value there. I'm not paying, and I probably wouldn't pay 23 mil. I wouldn't pay Giannis price for him. But the fact he's at 19.4, that gives me a little bit of room to move that I can make a little bit of cash off him as well at the same time. So what's LA's schedule look like? It's not terrible from memory.
Yeah, while you're looking at that, we also have a punters club within our Patreon if you like to have a little bit of a Lockie Bramble responsibly moment. But for those that are looking around at Luka Doncic triple-double in the first game, he's paying $7 on Bet365. So remember, Lockie Bramble responsibly.
That's spicy. Love that.
Yeah.
3-4, 3-4-2 for the Lakers to start. So a couple of 4-game weeks in there. Really like that. Then they've got two 2-game weeks in the next month after from week 5. So honestly, Luka is a first month play. First 4 weeks, hopefully he makes a bit of cash. Then you can move him on to the next primo option when the schedule opens up. The Pelicans have 5 4-game weeks in 6 weeks in that period. So you can move him on via Jules. If you've got a Tyson, you might be able to switch him up somehow and move a few things around and get like a Zion or someone that's popping off like a Trey Murphy when that schedule opens up. So that's where my head's at. Mattrix, who's your must-have to start the season?
It's Giannis. I just am, to start the year, obviously Jokic comes through at a 2-game. I'm going Giannis over Wemby. Both of them have a really good schedule to start, but yeah, just having a look and thinking of Giannis against the Wizards and the Raptors in the first week. A tough matchup against the Cavaliers. Like if you have a look at your Keyshawn Georges and some of those guys trying to defend Giannis, it's going to be huge. Where the growth's going to come from is point Giannis, just somebody who's going to create absolutely everything, who's going to be inside. He will get some negatives, obviously missing free throws. He's not the best, but I think he makes it up for such a high field goal percentage when he's actually playing. Might get a few more turnovers, but I think that's going to be saved with assists this year. I just think, we're going to talk captains a bit later on, but when it comes to Giannis, he's somebody that I'm going to have a dig at. So.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm sure he'll feature in the captain segment for sure. And look, where you can put Horse, you mentioned, put Wemby in that kind of conversation as well. Yeah, I genuinely think the big men are going to dominate in this
one
format.
or the other. Yep.
Point Wemby. Yeah.
And look, both of these guys have, the game to handle the ball. We're not talking about a pure big man like an AD, who is also not a bad option as a pod, but we're talking about guys who can bring the ball up the court, guys that can get assists. AD's just not an assist guy, as good as he is. So, yeah, these guys can do a little bit more this year with no Dame in Milwaukee, no Chris Paul and no genuine facilitator out there. I wouldn't even call De'Aaron Fox a genuine facilitator at the Spurs. So, yeah, I love those 2 picks. And if you can get both of them, I think they're essential. Let's get spicy. Horse has already kind of led the way with this, but we're talking pods. We're talking players under 10% owned. Matty, I'll throw to you first, mate. You get the first cab off the rank. Who's a pod that you really like that people should consider to start?
Let me just check who you picked first, because I don't want to steal it. But it's because you sort of, we had a discussion in another show about Zachary Ricochet. And I've just really liked what I've seen. You're an Atlanta Hawks man. And at that sort of $7 million, and I think people have overlooked him. And honestly, probably myself as well for 10 weeks of the preseason. And this is the guy that sort of facilitated me being able to bench Bezelis, which is something you guys had planned for a little bit. But being able to bench Bezelis, getting in a $7-8 million guy that you think that you can play. And look, I see in the chat, are there too many mouths to feed in Atlanta? I think with how much Trae Young facilitates well, Zachary Ricochet will get his. We're looking to get that bump. Obviously, he was one of the best draft picks coming out. I think if Atlanta are going to make the next step, which I kind of expect them to with this team that they're putting together, Zachary Ricochet will have a real banger, and Atlanta's schedule's pretty good. He's somebody that I think that you can start week 1 and not miss a beat, and a little bit of an enabler, to be honest, to get, like we just spoke about, your Giannis, your Wembys, your Anthony Davis, which that's where I'm going to get the points in the board, but you do have to give up somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, too many mouths to feed. I do think that to a certain extent, you've got to be a little bit concerned, but when you're talking about a guy who's like $7 million, that has the upside of a $15 million guy, like this is the number 1 pick, and I know we're talking about the weakest draft in God knows how long, but he was still the number 1 pick. He's still a good player, and obviously last year we got glimpses of that at different periods where he can score 25 points a night. He can go and get you 2 or 3 steals. He's lengthy. He can finish well. He defends well. He's in passing lanes. Like, he has a really complete game. There's a reason why they took him at 1. So, yeah, I really like his game. The price is amazing. And I naturally think that year 2, you always see an efficiency upside. You always see an improvement in efficiency after a rookie season. So naturally, he's probably going to get that as well. So, yeah, really like that. Horse, who's your pod, mate?
Let's go with Mattrix says he's the point guard at the Cleveland Cavaliers. I reckon he's more of a shooting guard, but it's Donovan Mitchell. So last year, he started the year at over $17 million, finished the year, or we've got him this year at 14.4 mil. But when you're looking at a team without Darius Garland to start with, you've got the likes of Jalen Tyson, who are filling in the starting 5, DeAndre Hunter, who's very much a catch and shoot, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen as your bigs. I believe Mitchell's going to become more of a facilitator instead of having to look for his own shot a lot more, which is then because his biggest, downfall is that he can chuck shots at times. But if he can keep his percentages high and then add to those assists early at 14.5 mil with a pretty good schedule when you're looking at 3 and then 3-4 game weeks in the next 4 weeks, it's pretty tasty.
Matty, he's been in and out of my team to start as well, definitely. What was it, Matty? I think you ran the numbers, which is very like you. You are a numbers guy. You ran the numbers earlier in the season, and Donovan Mitchell gets a 7-point bump without Darius Garland over the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I'm just doing the math at the moment in my head. I just got my calculator. That's a fuckload. He's just... No, there's just value there. The schedule's there. Love Donovan Mitchell as a pick, and I think that he will be the facilitator. I think he will be the point guard in this team. And the second one I sort of started to see Lonzo drop off. Dono is at that price, unreal.
Yeah, it's his team.
All I can picture now, Matrix with a camera. And doing the old boobies, 8008135.
Yeah.
And then passing it around the classroom.
The fact that you rattled that off so quickly and didn't have to think about it tells me that you've done that quite recently, I reckon. Horse.
That's how I got through special maths.
My pod, and I love both of your pods as well, my pod is Jimmy Butler, the third. Sorry, I better mention that at the end. Jimmy Butler, the third. Schedule for Golden State is fantastic. We've already talked about that. They've got, I think it's 3, then 4, 4, 4 off the back of it. I genuinely just like him. I don't even mind him as a 1-week play. There's a couple of other guys I could also take there, but if you're planning on holding Jimmy Butler, I think he's an awesome pick. Purely because Golden State schedule 3, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 4. So he could be a guy you could move on after week 4. You've got probably the most amount of games in that 4-week period out of any team in the competition off the back of that. So, and Jimmy Butler, the thing about him that I like the most is that he doesn't hurt you too much with negatives. He takes a lot of good shots. He fills the stat sheet. He's a good rebounder. He also is a secondary ball handler in this team, so he will get his assists. Great defender as well, a guy that can get a steal, can get a block, and his field goal's good. Doesn't turn the ball over a shitload either. So the one thing I'm looking for out of guys around this price point is making sure either they've got that 30-point upside in them, or they don't hurt you too much with negatives. Because as we've seen in this format as well over the years, looking back at previous years' scoring, some of those really kind of up and down guards, the guys like your Jalen Greens and your Jordan Pooles and those kind of guys, they can go 35 into the next game scoring 6. So you've got to be really careful with where you spend your money, and I'd rather spend my money at someone relatively safe that isn't going to have too many of those negatives, and I love his schedule. So, yeah, Jimmy Buckets, definitely a guy I'm looking at in my team to start as well. That kind of brings us to the end of Hot Topics, at least. We've covered a fair bit. We've covered our pods. We've covered the players we think are must-own, and we've given you some bench options as well. Of course, if you want to see our full teams, we're going to do, all three of us are doing a team reveal while we answer all of our subscriber questions tomorrow night. So if you want to become a subscriber, it's not too late. You'll get to see all of those as well for less than $10 a month. Now, boys, we probably should have a chat about captains, shouldn't we? In this format, Mattrix, we talk about footy, we talk about matchups. How much are you putting stock into matchups and looking at who they're playing in a week as to who's going to be your captaincy option in NBA?
Yeah, I am doing it this week because there's so many teams on the 3-game week. I do think as the season goes on, just a 4-game week will be enough. But unlimited trades, 3 trades a week. Of course, there's lots of injuries in that in NBA. I think I will be targeting a lot of the matchups when it comes to captains. And yeah, doing it week 1, to be completely honest.
Horse, having a look at, we'll talk about Giannis because he's the very obvious choice at the moment to be the captain in week 1. He's got a 3-game week, and the teams that he is coming up against, 2 of these matchups are elite. He's coming up against Washington Wizards in game 1, and then he plays, and these aren't back-to-backs, mind you, which is great. He gets a day rest in between. Then he comes up against Toronto. Scotty Barnes will be okay, but there's no way he's going to be able to stop Giannis from scoring 30 points. Into Cleveland. Evan Mobley might be a tougher assignment for him, I think. But, those first 2 games, that Washington game specifically, Mattrix mentioned Keyshawn George as the guy that's probably going to have to guard Giannis. That could be diabolical.
He could have 40, and one of those games where he gets 40 points, 18 rebounds, 10 assists. He could just pop right off, absolutely. Even Toronto, I don't mind the Scotty Barnes matchup and I'm going to call him pretty high to elite tier rim protection in Yucca Pirtle as well. The thing that Giannis doesn't have going in his favor is that he doesn't have a lot around him this year. He's got Miles Turner, who's a stretch big. He's a younger, more athletic Brook Lopez, so be it. But then you surround him with Gary Trent and KPJ and AJ Green, and it gets pretty dire. Notice how I didn't bring up Kyle Kuzma yet. It gets pretty dire for Giannis. So a lot of this is going to be a backpack job for Giannis, which in some ways is going to be pretty ordinary, but in some ways it could be really fucking elite for us. On the other hand, you've got Big Vic, who's got Dallas. That's going to be a tough matchup with AD there, and then you got Lively and the likes inside. But then the New Orleans Pelicans, I think he goes all right there. But then he's got Brooklyn at the back end of the week where he could really pop off there as well. Yeah,
it's Giannis for me at the moment is the front runner, but Wemby honestly is nearly unguardable to the majority of the league. He's now 7'5" now they're calling him, and not 7'3". He's grown 2 inches over the off season, which is just insane already. I'm looking at Luka's matchups. He plays Golden State, so he's going to have to get past Jimmy Butler. Not ideal to start, but then he's got Minnesota into Sacramento, so that's still 2 pretty nice matchups there. He could do some bad things to Julius Randle, and whoever has to guard him out there. It'll probably be Jaden McDaniels at Minnesota, who's a pretty good defender as well. So maybe Luka, probably not the captaincy option for me. Anybody else standing out for you, Matty? You chuck the armband on this week?
Yeah, I was looking at AD, just basically the same matchup as some of these other guys. You've got the Raptors, the Wizards, and the Spurs. Obviously, facing Victor Wembanyama is not the best matchup, but also AD will probably play power forward as well, which means that he might get a better matchup at times. I just think Anthony Davis is going to be a bad dude this year. I think that he is going to, put the team on his back. They're missing Kyrie to start the year. Cooper Flag will, he will have some teething issues. Definitely fine to own, but not going to captain. But yeah, Anthony Davis can do the bulk early on. I do expect him to have a really nice first week. And he's 21 mil. It's pretty good value.
Dallas' schedule's actually pretty handy too from memory. I'm just bringing it up. 2 threes to start the year, but then 4 4-game weeks in the next 5 after that, from week 3 to week 8. So yeah, week 3 to week 7. Sorry. So that's pretty handy if you plan on holding AD that whole time. One thing we haven't really talked about that I wouldn't mind touching on before we answer a couple of questions is the banking a downgrade potentially. And the idea of maybe using a Bezelis or having a 1 week play kind of option. I think there was a question. Where is it? Here it is. Chris Gray asked us, am I giving away too many points in week 1 by starting with Zion? He's going to be in my side all year unless he gets injured. On the flip side to that, I guess playing a 2-game week guy to start just because you want him. I think with max trades, I don't know about you, Horse, but with max trades, I just don't think you need to start with Zion just because you call him a keeper. Like, this is a format where you trade guys in and out, you trade keepers in and out based on the schedule.
100%. And you don't need to worry about his price because in week 2, he's going to be the same. He's only playing 2 games. So when you're talking about that 3-game threshold and then their price either increases or decreases, Zion's going to be the same. So for me, it's a pretty safe watch. You're going to see what the New Orleans Pelicans are going to dish up. You're going to see how they plan on integrating Zion, the new Zion, the skinny Zion into their system. And if we like what we see, then he's a downgrade option from someone, isn't he? If you want to go down from, say, a Jimmy Butler or, if I've got even Mitchell from the Cleveland Cavaliers and I want to bring in a cheaper guard and bring Zion Williamson in at the forward, we've got 3 trades each week. No worries.
Mattrix, are you looking at a 1-week play to start? Considering a lot of us are going to be scrambling to try and find money to get to Jokic. And whether that's week 2 or whether it's week 3, I think he will probably become a must-have. He could make us hurt in a 2-game week and just go back-to-back 40s and laugh at us. Is he in your plans? And if so, how are you planning around that?
Look, I'm going to have like everybody's been saying, wait and see. I am going to have a little bit of a look at how Denver looked this year. I do expect Jokic to lose cash, even at that $28 million. Whether it's worth having or not, I know that this isn't an NRL show, but just kind of been burnt starting with a $1.2 million Tom Trebojevic, if you remember, or just starting the best player in the league because he was the best player in the league the last year. I think Jokic will be the best player in the league, but I also think $28 million might be a little bit too high for him. So look, if I need to scramble week 2, I've always got that in the back of my mind. And you're right, maybe it is, one of these mid-price 15 millions. You guys just mentioned Donovan Mitchell or Jimmy Butler be the type of player to go down to Bezelis to facilitate that. Then I'm all on board with it. But I'm just keeping the option open in case Jokic comes out, does a couple of, 35-point games, which are elite. But he's still going to drop in cash week 2. And with the way that I think the salary cap's pretty skimp in this version of SuperCoach. I don't want to be losing bulk money on Jokic, even if I fall a bit behind early. I think just building that cash up in the background and, maybe I'm, middle of the pack to start the year because I don't have Jokic. I think when I have the money and I get somebody like him on a run later on, I'll be better off.
Yeah, I agree. It's like Matt Shorthorse last year. A lot of us broke the bank to get him. Anyone who finished quite well ended up fading him to start the year. And that's the decision you make. You take on the risk going against the best player in the game, and you've got to time it well to get him back in when his cash has dropped or when you think the matchup's nice. Honestly, Jokic will probably be the most purchased player still. He's like 38 or 39% owned at the moment. I reckon he'll still be the most purchased player by everyone else who didn't get him in week 3. It's just you've got to run the gauntlet the first 2 weeks when he only has 5 games across 2 weeks, and you go, look, I just really hope he doesn't hurt me too much. It gives you 2 weeks to get the cash together. And even if you start with Bezelis on your bench, and there'll be other cheapies that pop up that are making really nice cash with negative break-evens that you can get to free up that money anyway. So, but yeah, starting with a 1 week play, I don't hate either. Jimmy Butler could be a 1 week play. Big upside guys like a Chet Holmgren could be a 1 week play really as a nice little move then to Bezelis to free up 7 mil. So, they've got a lot of options there, and I think that's not a bad tactic to look at, having an obvious 1 week play to start the year, and then a very obvious downgrade option like a Bezelis or like whoever puts their hand up, I'm sure someone will, in week 2 to make that money back. Let's quickly get some questions done, hey? Global wants to know, is the scoring the same as NBL SuperCoach from last year? Mattrix, more of a you question, I guess. NBL SuperCoach, it's very different. Do you want to explain the differences?
Yeah, you didn't get negative for missed shots, which is why Bryce Cotton and Kendrick Davis and everybody like that was so good. Look, for starters, the no negatives in NBL SuperCoach just made it super guard heavy. And now with the negatives in NBA SuperCoach, I'm leaning the complete opposite direction in loading up at center, and power forwards.
Yeah, I would have loved a happy middle ground where they weighted assists, steals, and blocks a little bit higher. To answer Global's question, so it's 1 point for points, rebounds, and assists. It's -1 for a missed shot, a missed free throw, or a turnover, and then it's 2 points for a steal or a block. I would have loved it to be 2 points or 1 point for points, rebounds. -1 is fine across points, free throws, negatives for turnovers. That's fine. But I would have loved to see 2 points for assists and then 3 points for a steal, 3 points for a block. I reckon that would have leveled things out a little bit, because then your assist-heavy guards would probably get a bit more of a bump there, with assists being weighted a bit heavier. But so I agree, and that's why we see Wemby, Jokic, and Giannis all probably the best starting options and best options in this format, because it definitely hurts the guards just a little bit more. Josh Zapp, boys, do the prices change every 3 games played, or they just have to play 3 and they change every game after that? I'll cover this one. Yeah. So 3 games, not rounds. So basically the teams that are on 2 game weeks, your Bezelises, your Zions, all of these guys, Edgecombe, Reed Shepherd, a lot of these cheapies will not change price in week 1 because they only play 2 games. So it's still 3 game rolling average, the way that SuperCoach is priced. And obviously the last score will drop out if they've got a 3 or a 4 game week the week after that. It'll kind of make week 1 basically null and void completely when it comes to break-evens and 3-round rolling averages. So, to answer your question, the players have to play 3 games for them to change in price. So you'll see a lot of the 2 gamers change in week 2. Horse, would you go with Luka over Steph Curry? I've got Curry at the moment with Jimmy Butler too. Just hard to pass on Golden State straw.
Yeah, it definitely is. I know Mattrix is a fan of Curry and I'm a Golden State fan, but Curry, not for me. He's either really hot or can go cold, and this SuperCoach-based scoring system where you lose a point for a missed shot, just not for me to start. When you're looking at the types of players that we've got at the prices that they are, he doesn't fit in my team. And Luka Doncic is a walking triple-double, especially without LeBron in the side. So he's getting those extra points with the rebounds. He does get sneaky steals as well. Yeah, Doncic for me has got probably a bit of a higher ceiling than Curry for me.
Isaac Matrix has a question. Is it fine to have 2 2-game week players this week? I'm assuming he means 2 2-game week players on the field or on the court. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't. Look, I think you can cop 1 and carry it through if it bolsters yourself everywhere else, but not 2. With unlimited trades, I just don't really see the point in having 2. Just get somebody of similar value that's playing 3, that even if you think that they're going to score a couple points less, the extra game is going to mean that they score more when it comes to this format. So
yeah, agreed. And look, when you've got max trades, if you don't use them, you lose them. Like you've got 4 boosts for the season across 23 weeks and 3 trades every week. So like there's just no point planning long term with nearly any of your picks. Like we're going to rotate our teams and our players so much. So I agree with that. Just get them when they've got a 3-game week or when their schedule opens up. We've got a couple of subscribers here, so we'll answer theirs as well. Kizza in the chat, thanks for joining us, mate. If J-Dub misses early, it's not a question, it's a statement. Chet could be an interesting pick. We'll get a massive usage bump.
This man knows ball. He's got some ball knowledge. Kizza, president of our punters club as well. But I like the shout. Absolutely. Chet's
an interesting one for me, definitely. Yeah, he's that kind of ceiling guy where he could be a guy that goes 35 back-to-back. Okay, so you have a nice schedule as well. So if you want to hold on to him until Jalen Williams comes back, then that's fine. I think Jalen Williams only been shooting one-handed up until like 2 weeks ago. So there's every chance he could miss some time or get some extra rest there at different times in the year. So yeah, rate it. And Corey Blackledge, to finish things off, is it okay to play Igor Yemen on field? Will Brooklyn have a 3-game week to start? Thoughts?
I'm a no.
Matty, what do you reckon?
If it allows you to play 3 of Giannis, Wemby, AD, or Luka, and that's what's facilitating it, then yeah, wheels up. Because I think you're going to make it up in other spots on the field or on the court, I suppose it should be. But like realistically, yeah, I'm okay with playing a cheapie on a 3-game week. But you have to make sure you're doing like. Do a head count. Like if you think that he's going to score, 15 less points or 10 less points than a Peyton Pritchard or a Kevin Porter Jr., then you can cop it. But you've got to make sure that you make it up with the bump that you're getting by saving $5 million elsewhere. You have to be very confident in that.
Yeah, spot on. Guys, that will do. I know we can't get to every question, guys. Sorry, we will be here for another half hour if we tried to answer them all. But you can get all of your questions answered every single week. We go and cover all of the questions that come into our Patreon. Every single one of them, they don't get missed. So if you want to get your questions answered and you want to see our final teams tomorrow night, we'll be going live for subscribers to cover that, release our teams and answer all those questions. So yeah, jump in there, guys. Less than $10 a month. Even if you just want to get involved for the first month, you're more than welcome. Of course, you get access to the WhatsApp chat and all the extra articles that come throughout the week on our trades, thoughts, captains, and everything that we'll keep for subscribers too. So otherwise, guys, thank you for watching. Thanks for getting involved in the first NBA Supercoach Live. Only less than 48 hours till NBA tips off. I'm super pumped after talking about it for 11 weeks. I just want to watch some basketball now that means something. So it's going to be good. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet so you don't miss any future episodes. Like, give it a thumbs up, do the hype thing on YouTube, follow, review. All of that stuff helps it get out to more eyes and more ears. Thank you for the support. Thanks for jumping on. We'll be live every single Monday night at 8:30 p.m. So, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Thanks, Chris Gray. Appreciate you. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you next week. Good luck with your starting teams. And if you jump in as a subscriber, we'll see you there.
See ya.